in Gaza is back in full force, with Hamas firing rockets tonight into Israel.
Breaking news today in Gaza. 136 hostages in Hamas captivity, 110 released, including women and children. The fight resumes immediately. Hamas is blaming Israel for violating the rules of ceasefire, while Israel is saying that Hamas did not comply with the rules of ceasefire, and the fire resumes immediately. So before I open the full package, I would like you to have a little patience and touch the like button, subscribe, follow me if this is your first time of watching my video, share this message. Now let's go there.
Ended in Gaza with deadly fighting resuming. Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel has late details.
The war in Gaza is back in full force, with Hamas firing rockets tonight into Israel and the Israeli military carrying out at least 200 strikes, many in southern Gaza, where the Hamas-run health ministry says around 200 Palestinians were killed and hundreds wounded, including Ibrahim Abu Alainin, who cries for his dad as he's carried to an ambulance. Israel says Hamas brought this down upon Gaza by breaking a 7-day truce when it refused to release more hostages, and the U.S. also blaming Hamas for the end of the ceasefire.
It came to an end because of Hamas. Hamas reneged on commitments it made. In fact, even before the pause came to an end, it committed an atrocious terrorist attack in Jerusalem.
Hamas claims it offered to release older hostages instead of the women Israel was asking for. But Israel seems to be in no mood to accept edicts from Hamas. In Tel Aviv, the relatives and supporters of Israeli hostages gathered to light candles, weep, sing, and pray. On Wednesday, Hamas released Yarden Roman in the sweatshirt, reunited with her husband and 3-year-old daughter. But her sister-in-law, Carmel, remains a hostage. Carmel's brother today told us he'd hoped she'd be out soon too, as Hamas rockets were intercepted above us.
These reunions are making everyone in Israel, and I think around the world, to feel the hope, feel the strength. I think it's the interception, but I'm not sure.
I think right there.
Yeah, but the bombing is interception, so...
No, there's the Iron Dome.
The Iron Dome, that's the interception.
But could Hamas's October 7th massacre that started this war have been prevented? The New York Times says it reviewed a 40-page document outlining Hamas's attack plan that Israel obtained a year ago, detailing how Hamas would use a barrage of rockets, drones, and gunmen and paragliders. But Israeli officials dismissed it as aspirational. NBC News has not seen nor independently confirmed the document. An IDF spokesperson telling us after the war, the IDF will conduct an in-depth investigation.
Richard, let me ask, where do things stand on negotiations over hostages? Is anyone talking tonight?
No, they're not looking good. Like the ceasefire has collapsed, the negotiations, which had been producing results, are also paused, according to a negotiator directly involved in the talks. That doesn't mean they couldn't resume, but for now, they're...
That lasted a week. The bombing of Gaza continues now, and militants there are firing rockets into Israel. Meanwhile, 136 people kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th remain in captivity. 110 people have been released, mostly women and children. And late today, some encouraging news that Israel will restart the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Jim Dolan joining us in the studio with the very latest. Jim.
Lauren, the pause lasted just a week in Gaza. 7 days of peace, or an illusion of peace. When negotiations to release more hostages broke down, the war resumed with a vengeance. Hamas claiming Israel was again targeting and killing civilians, and Israel vowing to hunt down Hamas terrorists wherever they hide. Pause is over, and the sky over Israel once again today lit up with rockets fired from Gaza and intercepted mid-flight by Israeli defenses. And Israeli missiles thundered once again into Gaza, destroying buildings and, Hamas says, killing civilians. The war, of course, is Israel's response to the October 7th massacre of Israeli civilians, which caught Israeli intelligence by surprise. But the New York Times reported today that more than a year ago, Israel obtained a 40-page document detailing the Hamas plan, which Israel called Jericho Wall. It called for a barrage of rockets at the outset of the attack and drones to knock out Israel's security cameras and automated machine guns along the border. In other words, exactly what happened in October.
The fact that they did it to the T shows that it was actually very good intelligence, but the fact that they didn't act on it is very troubling.
Israeli intelligence dismissed the plan at the time as aspirational. Just hours after the last of the released hostages were reunited with their families, fighting in Gaza resumed. Hamas says more than 30 people were killed in this strike alone after Israel promised the U.S. they would be more precise in their targeting.
That is absolutely imperative.
U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told reporters today he had gotten assurances from Israel that they would try and avoid civilian casualties and allow relief into the enclave.
We support Israel and its efforts to make